Get $50 instantly when you play $5 and you use the promo code presented by Prize Picks. Welcome to Light Years. Tommy, before we get started, Merry Christmas, everyone, and Happy Hanukkah, everyone. Now that we got the pleasantries out of the way, I just have one thing left to say right now. In the words of our guy, Tim Kawakami, fire everybody. Fire fucking you know,
Ugh. Man, oh man,
it's great. I hope you had a good time with your family today.
I did.
At a reasonably good time, as much as you can when you're fighting sickness and whatnot. But it's always a good time. Toddlers, always a good time with the holidays. Anyway, so Warriors games at 5. Usually they play earlier, and I kind of appreciate that it was a little later in the day. Makes it a little easier to do this, I thought. And then turn the game on, and let's be honest, it was kind of a shitty game most of the way through, right? And
Entertaining.
then, do you think it was entertaining? I was kind of like,
I think I always get swept up in the Steph LeBron madness, and I was on Twitter calling it.
Yeah.
I was on Twitter calling it the unction. You tweeted out the video of Jerry Rice and Dan Marino doing their like.
That's actually a good way to put it.
It's the unction, dude. Like it's always fun. It really it was obviously it's two mid teams battling it out, but It's still always fun to like watch LeBron and Steph go at it tonight, or like they did tonight, and they did it again. But unfortunately, it ended in just about the worst way possible, losing to an Austin Reeves layup. That's not the Christmas gift that I wanted. Let's put it like that.
No, not at all. It's like one of those things where it's like, for me, it was a little bit of an annoying game, particularly with getting the lucky break early with Anthony Davis with the rolling his ankle, and he wasn't coming. He didn't come back in the game, and they couldn't take advantage of it. And then the worst part of it is Steph was electric down the stretch. That's just like, that is why you keep the faith. That is why they need to make a move to go all in. There are not many players who can do that in the league today, period. I don't care if he's older. I don't care if he can't do it every day. How many guys can actually do something like that?
So few. We're probably counting them on one hand, honestly. And maybe, maybe 6 or 7 guys, 8, somewhere around there. But like, it's very, very few. And obviously it's less consistent now. He is older. He can't get to that level as consistently that he reached tonight. But at the same time, he can still get there. Like, his apex is still a top 5 guy in the league. And I still have the belief that if you get him to April, May, June healthy, he can do this often enough to probably win you at least a couple series.
And it's just to lose that way after he hits 2 impossible shots back to back with, like, what the fuck, Wiggins? Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't even want to call that bad. It's just, to me, that play is actually exemplary of the Warriors' broader issues, which is It's not any one individual player. It's like lack of attention to detail, kind of space cadets, just kind of missing that little grit, that little, like, I'm going to close this game out, like, quality. I don't know. Maybe that's too hyperbolic. I mean, honestly, it is a little too hyperbolic, but like, it's just kind of one of those things where I'm just like, you know what? Andre Iguodala doesn't allow that play.
No, he doesn't.
Prime Klay Thompson doesn't allow that play. Kevin Durant, defensively in his prime, does not allow that play. Honestly, Andrew Wiggins most nights doesn't allow that play. But instead, we get just the big Steph shot, and everyone's heads in the clouds, like, la la la, we're going to overtime, and then Austin Reeves puts a good move on him, and he recovers late, and he tries to go for the block. It's just like, fuck, man.
For the record, I did not think we were going to overtime. I was yelling at my TV in front of my entire family, please get a fucking stop. Like, that's what I was yelling. They all looked at me like I was crazy. But I mean, Kuminga late on the weak side rotation. You can say maybe should have had TJD in the game to deter a drive a little bit more, but I get wanting to be switchable. Like, you can question every decision, right? But at the end of the day, I'd say number 1, force a middle. Don't let him get baseline, because it's a much harder to help if a guy goes baseline. And number 2, just get a goddamn stop. Like, it's that simple. Just get a stop. There's 5 seconds on the clock, 6 seconds on the clock. There's no excuse not to get one there.
It reminds me of the Lakers Warriors game in was it January last year or sometime between
where they foul LeBron.
They didn't foul him. He just kind of stiff armed. He got Kuminga on a switch, turned the corner, it's a layup. Well, first Steph hit an impossible shot to tie the game, and I was like, "Oh shit, he did it! He still got it!" And then LeBron just gets off the inbound, has a half step on Kuminga, and it's over.
I thought they fouled him on that. I know what game you're talking about. It was like a double OT game, right?
Yeah.
I think they fouled him and LeBron made both. But either way, it's the same thing. It's the same.
Yeah.
And that's actually what was going through my head when Steph made the three. I was like, it's going to be the same thing as last year. And it's such a shitty feeling to have as a fan where you just don't have any faith in your team to get a stop down the stretch, no matter how much time is left on the clock. Like 6 seconds, you're basically going to take a couple dribbles and then take a shot. You're going to get 4 dribbles probably at most, maybe 5. And they can't even get a stop in that scenario. Just straight line drive to the baseline, easy layup, game over.
Yeah. It's like, yeah. And they've been in such a grind for an extended period of time. Like they really needed a win here. And it's just, it's not just losing tonight. It's like 3 years of these type of losses. Too small, too slow, too dumb. Rinse, repeat, Chat's mentioning why was Pods playing so much? Why didn't Schroeder play? Like, why is Kyle Anderson not playing? I don't know. It's a gigantic game of whack-a-mole. Insert one player, have another set of problems. Kyle Anderson's out there on that last possession. Maybe they have a better chance at switching and helping and just being set up better to play that. But if Kyle Anderson's playing more, maybe that mucks up the offense in different ways. Maybe they don't get to that situation. I don't know. They don't have a 5-man combination they can go to, and they have not. Honestly, they didn't even in 2022. In 2022, they had 7 guys, and they just Steve kind of miraculously rotated it, and everything kind of fell into place. But they never had a perfect 5-man rotation.
No, they didn't.
Or sorry, 5-man. Like this is my closing lineup.
Yeah, it was Otto some nights, it was Poole some nights, it was GP2 some nights.
Looney,
like it was just Looney, right? And it was really about Steve pressing the right buttons. It was really about Steve pressing the right buttons, and that, like, I really do think people underrate how difficult that is to do in real time. Like it's so easy to play armchair quarterback and second guess it and say, like, oh, he should have done this, he should have done that. We all do it, including myself. But hindsight's always 2020 with that type of stuff. And you're always basically just going to play the result. And so playing the results of 2020, he did it perfectly. Playing the results of the past 3 seasons, he's not doing it perfectly. But it's a really hard needle to thread.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like here's a thought I've had for an extended period of time, and it's always unpopular, but I think the Warriors need to let go of 2022 and acknowledge they got lucky. Lucky not in the sense that they didn't deserve the title and the players didn't perform, but that roster construct where you do not have a 5-man unit that you count on every night can work. To your point, it's exceptionally hard. The Warriors were dynastic because they had 5 guys they could go to. Like, if they were healthy, you knew Andre was in there. You knew Clay was in there. Obviously, Steph, Draymond, and Harrison Barnes or Kevin Durant, the super version. But they had a go-to lineup. Pretty much every real contender has, like, all right, we got all these guys. We like them. But when the chips are on the table, these are my 5 guys. These are the ones I'm going to go with, and I'm going to live or die with them. And the Warriors got it done without having that in 2022. And honestly, it's pretty amazing. Like, I just don't know how repeatable that is. In fact, my entire point here is it's not repeatable. And if you look at every other team going forward, you're like the Nuggets in 2023, the Celtics in 2024, the Bucks in 21, the Lakers in the bubble, all the Warrior teams, all the teams, like they pretty much have a 5-man lineup they kind of hang their hat on. And, what's the worst 5-man lineup?
I guess after tonight, you want to say it's the 5 that was out there. But even then, like, I'm not confident in it. Like, you can't really trust Kuminga yet. And I don't know when that day will come. He was
not very good tonight, by the way.
No, he wasn't. And I mean, Schroeder, I like Schroeder, but like realistically, is that a guy you want closing conference finals or NBA finals games? Probably not. And I think a perfect comparison point for like these Warriors teams, it's the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat have done that a couple times where they've gotten to the finals and they haven't. But they're like playing the whack-a-mole with they don't really have a closing five. They kind of know the 3 or 4 guys they're going to use, but they don't really have a closing five that's set in stone. And they haven't been able to get over the hump in large part because of that, and because obviously they don't have Steph Curry. Like, that makes a difference too. But basically, you have to have a guy as generational as Steph to make it work even one time, let alone multiple times over the course of 4 to 5 years. So I wish I had a good answer for you of what the closing five would be. I know what I would like it to be if some trades were made, but at this point, they don't have
and that's my whole thing. They spend way too much time concern trolling what they're going to lose instead of just being realistic. You need to find those 5 guys first. Worry about your 8th man, your 9th man after you figured those guys out. Period. You know, so that's kind of where that's where I'm at with them. Like, it's really frustrating. People are like, oh, we can't give up Kuminga or Pods or something. Like, what if they turn into this? Or, oh, Looney's super important to this team. And it's like, and I in a vacuum, I like them all to varying degrees, and I don't really want to trade anyone from the sense of like, get them out of here, like that sort of thing. It's just kind of like, yeah, dude, you got to give to get. Sorry, you don't get a generational cap spike to get Kevin Durant out of nowhere every year, you know? Like, that's kind of what it comes down to. And it's just indecision left and right. It's just annoying.
Are you telling me that the organization actually isn't light years ahead? Is that what you're trying to tell me right now, Sam?
That's bad. That's bad branding. No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. It's not what I'm saying at all. Man, I fucking hate wasting these Steph games. Like, here,
I know.
It's really sometimes it's really that simple. It's like, he's looking older. You know, he was not good on Monday. No. You and I were talking about it. And he's had more and more of those games. And like, as much as we don't want to admit he's getting older, that's the reality. So when you get a vintage Steph game, when the legs feel a little better, and it looks like Olympic Steph and, you know, who he's capable of being, losing those games really fucking sucks.
Yeah. I mean, 38 points, I think it's a season high. I know he hasn't hit 40 this year, but I'm pretty sure 38 is a season high. And bum. Yeah, bum. I mean, I think it's more that, like, I actually, and I said this a little bit the other night, I think it's a form of, he's really not going to give you this effort very, very often until he actually believes in this roster. You know, I do think he can get to this level more often than he's shown so far. It's never going to be as consistent as it was 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago. But I do think there's more in the tank than he's showing right now. And that's something that I don't think you could ever say about Steph until this season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's never been that guy who kind of just packs it in when, you know,
it's
kind of gray ahead of him. But like, if you do this for 30 straight months, eventually even the most patient, like, best person in the world will get sick of it if it's just the same thing over and over again, right? And we've reached that breaking point.
It's funny because, like, we used to make fun of LeBron fans so much for that, but it's like, that's where we're at with him. There's a lot of like, you know, tip of the cap to each other because they do the same thing, and they're at that phase of their career. Like, earlier this year, you know, LeBron went through a stretch where he really wasn't playing or trying on a consistent basis. And, you know, there's all the concern for, like, oh, is he washed? That sort of thing. It's like, buddy, he can still play when he wants to play. But he's nearly 40.
He took a quick trip to Miami. Let's not forget that. There was a quick trip to Miami in there.
Yeah, it's Fashion Week. Yeah, not a big deal.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All right, we got a special guest we're going to bring on. Before we do, guys, I want to tell you about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get in on real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just need to pick more or less on 2 players for a shot to win 100x your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. I didn't tweet out my picks, but you bet your ass I took the over on Steph and LeBron because it's Christmas.
Yeah.
They're showmen. I mean, I'm not taking the over on them the next game when it's not a national TV game, but I knew the cameras are on. I knew I could count on those 2 guys to come through, and they did. They did for me. So, you know, I got 3x my winnings tonight. About the only thing that is working in my favors. You know, it's increasingly it's the whole, like, I'm leaving here with something because the Warriors aren't winning. So.
And what did I tell everybody on the last podcast? Bet the more on LeBron steals. He had 2 through the third quarter, so I know
he had a 1.5 line.
Yeah,
It was a
exactly.
1.5 line for
Yep.
blocks and steals combined. The easiest money you're going to play. That
Easy.
first pass to Looney in the post was a guaranteed steal every
Yep.
time, you know?
Every single
So,
time.
guys, Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use the code LIGHTYEARS. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. So, essentially, you download the app, put in the code LIGHTYEARS, deposit $5. They give you $50 instantly. Literally paying you $45 to download this app, guys. So, Prize Picks, run your game.
Right. And now it's time to do some Game Time. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip off. With killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. So I might have a scheduling conflict on Friday. Not sure if I can make it to Warriors Clippers.
Fraud.
I know. But if I can, you can get in the door right now at Intuit Dome, and the price actually just dropped as I'm looking at the app. I'm not even kidding. It was 174, now it's 172. You can get into the building at the newest, and according to Sam, not the nicest, but the newest NBA arena.
It's
to watch
nice.
Steph-
I think it's the corniest arena. That's
Okay.
where
Okay.
let's be like, it's obviously very nice. It's
Right.
it's not like, fleas crawling all over the place, falling apart.
Yeah, of course. But my point is, you can get in the door to see the Warriors in Los Angeles for $170 right now. But even if I wanted to wait till the last minute, Game Time's last minute deals can save me up to 60% off buying last minute tickets for not only sports, but concerts, comedy, theater, and any other event you want to go to. So download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code LIGHTYEARS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LIGHTYEARS, LIGHTYEARS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
All right. I invited our friend Daman, the dreaded Laker fan, to join us pregame. I didn't realize I was going to get a kind of a fucking kick to the nuts right beforehand. So now I'm regretting it. But what's up, man?
Merry Lakermas, everybody.
Oh,
Hope you're having a fantastic day.
Get him out.
By the way,
here.
I for all the Light Years Discord listeners, one of you called me an underrated idiot once, and one of my favorite things that anybody has ever said. So thank you. I'm here.
How long has that one
Nice.
been in the chamber for?
Oh my god, I took a
That's
screenshot
gotta
of
be a year
this.
plus.
Yeah, and it just fantastic. It describes me to the T. So I am not even mad at it. How's it going, guys?
I mean,
Been better.
You have to know how this feels. You guys are whopping one game above the Warriors. It's every game is a root canal. They give you a good one. You feel good. You and I both know Friday LeBron's going to no-show against like the Jazz or something.
Yep.
We're gonna lose.
No, it's so funny. I mean, the Lakers just lost to Detroit last game, and yeah, it's so funny. I was listening to you and Tommy before, and we're having the same conversations. Like we are in the same boat now. The Lakers today, without Anthony Davis, without D'Lo, like that, the Lakers have struggled on offense, especially. And so that was very encouraging from the Lakers' point of view, I think. But at the end of the day, when we're zooming out and looking at where the franchises are, we're having the same exact conversations. And I feel like, and Sam and I talk about this all the time offline, but we are in such the same boat. It's the parallels between Steph and LeBron, where they are in their careers, where the franchises kind of view them. The fan base angst is like the identical. Every 2 or 3 game win streak, we're like, see, they're worth investing in. Let's go all in. And every 2 or 3 game losing streak, we're the same. We're like, well, make a damn trade. Like it's the same. We're talking about the same.
It gets
thing
tiring.
all the time. Yeah.
And it's like 3 years of it. Like that's
Yeah.
the other thing. So like you guys had the Russ, you guys won the Mickey Mouse Invitational. Then you traded for Russ, which kind of destroyed kind of the identity and really took away all your good role players.
Yeah.
You get rid of Russ immediately. And since then, I feel like it's been the same roster, and it's kind of the same thing the Warriors are going through. It's like, sure, a role player changes and you get a Dalton Connect and you feel good about that. But it's like, ultimately, it's like the same roster issues for 3 years in a row? 3 years in a row of playing ball. They excite you. Obviously, in your case, you have 2 superstars. So sometimes it does feel a little more realistic that you can like run the table against good teams in the Warriors. where we just have one. But it's like the same thing of like how many games in a row do you need to see the same roster with the same issues, and all you're doing is like tweaking the eighth man over and over again.
And what you were talking about, again, another similarity when you were asking Tommy, like, what's your ideal closing lineup? And whatever player you slot into that fourth or fifth slot, you're losing something else. So like that whack-a-mole that you're talking about is something that the Lakers have been facing all season, where it's like, okay, our offense is struggling, so let's go to a more offensive lineup, and then the defense crashes to an unsustainable point of view. And it's like this balancing act, but ultimately it's leading to kind of mediocrity. And I think one of the things that I've taken away from it, well, I think the Russ trade is a good trade to bring up because I think the Lakers remain gun shy. There's like trauma from that trade still. And so there's this notion that, hey,
I don't know what the Warriors' trauma is from, to be honest with you. They haven't done anything like that.
Well, Kevin Durant.
Yeah, well, and I think there's also like an institutional arrogance about, well, we don't want to go all in now because then what happens after? And my message to the Lakers front office, and I'm sure your message to the Warriors front office is, hey man, when LeBron's done and when Steph's done, it's over. Like there's nothing. Don't
rebuild. You're rebuilding anyway, buddy.
There's no like I don't know this notion of like, I guarantee you if I talk to a Lakers front office person, they would say, well, when LeBron's gone, then we'll build around AD. And I'm like, time out. No. When LeBron's gone, you're calling OKC, you're calling Houston, and you're saying, hey, what do you want for AD? You're calling the league, you're like, hey, what do you want for Austin Reeves? Like, we are going to the studs. Do not like this fancy notion of, hey, we're gonna roll into something else, and we're gonna go from contender to building a quick contender right away. It's like, hey man, the fan base is telling you, it's usually the fan base that's delusional, right? The fan base is saying, no, we do not. It's an irrational expectation. It's a stupid way to go about this. And the only thing that you're going to end up doing is stuck in the play-in again and again, which they have been. And so I think you guys probably feel the same way. It's like, what are you building towards?
I mean, I think it's like you said, it's an organizational hubris.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's just believing that all these things continue to go on in perpetuity. And, the Lakers
going to fall into your lap because they always do, man.
Yeah, and it's like the Lakers actually have more of a reason to believe that in a way as an organization. But Joe Lacob as an owner has reason to believe it because his whole ownership tenure has been based until now. It's been on the rise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jesus. But no, to go back on the point about, playing whack-a-mole with lineups really quick. There's an old saying in football where it's like, if you have two quarterbacks, if you believe you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one, right? Because neither guy's actually that good. And that's the position that the Lakers and the Warriors are stuck in with just in terms of their current rosters. It's like, oh, we think we have all these great options, but it's like, you guys have maybe a Dalton Connect one night or a D'Angelo Russell one night. We have like Buddy Hield or Dennis Schroeder. It's like, these guys are good, solid NBA players, but they're not taking you over the top with whatever else is on the roster. And that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. You shouldn't be that excited to get Dennis Schroeder. Like,
and I
like
excited.
Dennis. He's a good player. He's definitely helping the team, and he can help the team. But it was like,
what's
we're counting on him. We're counting on him to like be Klay Thompson, be like that second option. I'm just like, it's not going to work. That's not the way it goes.
What's surprising to me is, so the Lakers have had one consistent struggle this year against like young athletic teams. So that's one of the reasons that they lost to Detroit, and they've had a few losses like that where it's just they're just not only an older team, but they lack athleticism. That was striking today where the Warriors, like they added Dennis, who I thought was going to provide like that instant kind of punch. And even a player like Kuminga, I thought, okay, Kuminga's been up and down all year, but I expected that he could kind of use his athleticism today. And I didn't really feel that from the Warriors side. Like that was the one thing. Like Austin Reeves can be prone to turnovers. There can be a lot of things like that young athletic team can drive the Lakers to do. And man, I wasn't worried at all on that front today.
That's the Kuminga journey, right? Like he had one of his best games of the season on Monday.
Yeah.
26, 8 rebounds, 4 offensive rebounds. A couple of those like really couple of those physical rebounds were just like, you should do this 4 times a game. You're that good. And then you come out in a game like tonight, and to your point, like he was terrible. Like,
Yeah.
aside from the highlight dunk, and was that the first quarter, maybe second quarter, early in the game,
early second quarter.
You didn't really notice him out there, other than if you're paying attention, and he was just losing his man repeatedly on defense.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is and Daman can speak to this. Rui has not been very good this year, right?
Nope.
Rui had one of his best games of the year tonight.
Yep.
And this is an issue that the Warriors face, and it's part and parcel because of Kuminga. They cannot get consistent wing play. So a guy like Rui, who's kind of struggling, he's big, he's strong, he's athletic, can shoot it well on certain nights. He can come in and dominate a team like this Warriors team specifically, because Wiggins is obviously taking LeBron, and there's no other wing depth on this team. And Rui just kind of exposed Kuminga or whoever else they tried on him, and it's a really easy matchup for him. You know what I mean? And that's the issue that the Warriors are currently facing, because if it really is, when it comes down to it, it is a wings league. And if you don't have enough of those guys, like, you can have all these skilled guards all you want. You need guys who can handle the ball, obviously.
You know who's it?
But if you don't have wings, like, you're kind of screwed at the end of the day.
I mean, you know who the Warriors' second best wing is? It's GP2. And he is such a limited player. Like, he can't shoot the ball.
Got injured again.
Quite frankly, he can't stay healthy 5 games in a row.
Yep.
He's 6'1". I mean, obviously he's got a huge wingspan. He's an athlete, but it's like, at least you feel him out there. At least when he's out there, he makes 4 plays a game that, 4 plays a game. If he's out there for a 6-minute stretch, you feel 4 separate plays he makes. And that's different than like Kuminga, where it's like, I don't know, man. I didn't know you were on the floor for your entire time you were there. Or like someone like Pods, where it's like trying his ass off, but it's like too slow. It's still trying to, like, he needs to be like Austin, like Austin Reeves is not a great athlete, but he's a little bigger than him, and also he's just a lot smarter than him at this stage of his career.
And way
it's
more
like you
skilled.
need to, yes, also way more skilled. That helps too. Yeah. It's one of those things where it's just like, when you're behind the 8 ball physically, you have to be like so much farther ahead in every trait to make up for it. But I think my point stands on that. It's like they have a roster full of specialists, guys who are either theoretical players or they do something, but they only do one thing. Like Looney is a great rebounder, but that's all he is, right? Like GP2 is a great defender and a great hustle player, but that's all he is, right? And then you got the young guys who they could be anything, the mystery boat, and then you come back and you look at a game like this, you're like, yeah, but you really just don't have multiple guys who are actually just good all around players.
So that's the thing, right? What you're describing role players being role players. It's not this is all about slotting, right? So even Austin Reeves, who was freaking incredible tonight, right? My opinion on him on this roster is that his role is outsized based on what he should be doing. And so even if I'm saying that, that's the kind of thing that I think the West is so tough. The NBA is so deep right now. We're looking at our rosters and we're saying, hey man, there's still so much. This was a great game. These are 2 teams that are still destined for the play-in.
Yeah. God, that's depressing.
It is. It really
it's just
is.
like, and I mean, like, Denver's playing right now, and Denver won the title 2 years ago, and they looked every bit the juggernaut that they should be. They got a little injured and they lacked a little depth, so they didn't win it last year. And then they blew it up. They let KCP go.
Yep.
And next thing you know, I'm watching them. I'm like, you know what? Jokic is probably still the best player in the league. I think he's the best player in the league. Mm-hmm. Daman might say Giannis because he's wrong. But anyway, the point is he's one of the 2 best players in the league. And but like,
it's a conversation at least.
It is a conversation, but they're so limited because now they have lineup issues because they let a couple guys go. And I think that's just where the NBA is right now. Like, you have to have a 5-man lineup you can count on at all times. I don't know that that's really unique to now. I just think it's with how smart teams are, like they'll just pick on your worst guy every time.
Yep. No, I'm with you, man. It is anytime you zoom out, it's a little frustrating right now. And also another thing that we're talking about where it's been like this for 2 years that we've been talking about the same thing. The CBA made it very hard starting this season to actually make those deals. So it's like I tweeted this a little while ago, like earlier this year. I'm like, our front offices waited just long enough to where their patience may be justified, but it's like now it's and now they might actually make the move, and it's just it's the CBA. I don't even understand like the trade rules. I've tried to understand. I've tried to listen to all the dunked on people and all those guys. Like I tried to understand it. I still don't know. Like it's gonna maybe after this deadline we'll have a proper understanding of it. But our teams are in a situation where we need to make moves, and it's the hardest time ever to make moves.
Yeah. It's the hardest and it's the easiest, right? Because there's going to be more teams looking to get off salary. Like that's
Yeah.
the reason why Minnesota trades Cat, right?
Yeah.
Like it for pure basketball reasons, it did not make sense to trade Cat. But they're looking at 4 years, what 200 million or whatever it was, and so they're like, we have to get off this money. We're going through ownership issues. Like they don't know if they're going to sell the team. Like nobody knows who's going to pay that money. So it's like, okay, we got to get rid of this contract. So it can be easier to get deals done, but at the same time, you can't aggregate salaries over a certain level. Like there's so much math that goes into it, and the NBA's done it on purpose. They want it to be harder to make trades. But yeah, like the patience might be justified, but at the same time, it might just be too late from a basketball sense. Like the young guys are up and coming, like Luka ascending, Jokic, best player in the league, SGA ascending, Tatum ascending. Like you have all these guys who are ascending and like in the middle of their prime. And as great as Steph and LeBron are, and still are, it might not be enough, even if you make the perfect trade.
But I think my response would be, I agree. You still got to do it. Do it.
Absolutely.
And just live with what happens after, and don't overthink it.
Yeah. Anyway, let's pay a quick bill.
Let's do it. Oh, I'm just going right to Manscaped. I love it. All right, everybody. With the holidays creeping up fast on your aunt's favorite fruitcake recipe, and actually they've kind of passed now, I've got something way better to share with you. If you want to look sharp for all those festive gatherings and maybe finally win that Best Groomed at Family Dinner award, check out the latest masterpiece from Manscaped, the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver. Trust me, it's like Rudolph for your face, guiding you to a smooth, irritation-free shave. Head over to manscaped.com and join the over 11 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by using the code LIGHTYEARS for 20% off plus free shipping. I actually used Manscaped yesterday before a little Christmas Eve party, and I think it did a pretty good job. Yeah, I know, right? I think it did a pretty good job, right? I used that skin safe 4-blade foil trimmer because it's irritation free, no razor burn, and it just makes you look good, So get the Chairman Pro today and experience a shave that is as smooth as you deserve. Get 20% off plus free shipping when you use the code LIGHTYEARS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping when you use the code LIGHTYEARS at manscaped.com.
All right, guys. Before we move forward, well, actually, I kind of want to ask you this, Daman. All right. I want to get off the Warrior Laker talk about because I'm a little depressed on it right now.
Yep.
The topic du jour right now is, the NBA ratings are in decline. They're losing popularity. And then obviously you got NFL games today, and that's all I see going on right now. Oh, blah, blah, NFL. So give me your 2-minute pitch for how to fix the NBA right now.
First of all,
trade everyone to the Warriors and Lakers, right?
Dom, I'm gonna let you go first, but first of all, shout out our guy Ethan Strauss for making this topic the most popular topic in NBA circles. We can't go without saying that.
That is so true. So I think all the talk about player empowerment, the rules, the threes, the replays, the this, the that, they're all possible good ideas, but the real only thing that'll matter and the only thing that'll make a difference is dramatic, radical schedule overhaul. Make these games matter, reduce the inventory, make them more events, so my idea is simple. Play games on Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. That's it throughout the whole season on a fixed time. So there's 4:30 p.m.
What am I going to do? What am I going to do on the weekends?
7:30 Pacific games. You got that. And future, make sure you feature like all the young teams. Make sure you do all that. But it is all centralized around schedule reform. Reduce the inventory, make the games matter more, and everything else will sort itself out. Like there's plenty of areas to make reform. There's plenty of discussion to have. Maybe eliminating the corner three is the right idea. Maybe allowing bigs to camp in the paint is a good idea. I think that's all window dressing because the main thing is How do you get people to watch a game, whether it's good or bad, but feels important enough for you to invest your time in? That is my pitch.
And I think all of this is like, it's interesting because like you're basing the ratings, they're declining based off of when not every game from every team was shown, right?
Right.
Like national broadcasts had higher ratings because you could only see, I mean, not the Bulls specifically, but you could only see Reggie Miller play 10 times a year. You'd only see Patrick Ewing, David Robinson, you'd only see these guys play a certain amount of times a year. So yeah, it was appointment viewing, which is kind of the point you're making, Daman, is like you had to tune in those days because you're not going to get to see the guy for another couple weeks, another
Yep.
month. So if you spread out like the ratings over, okay, how many people are watching League Pass, and you're counting that as all the ratings, I would actually be interested to see what those numbers are in terms of what the actual viewership is. But I think the point in general is correct. You do have to like bring down the number of games that there are, but will the league ever do that? That's the real question, because they're going to be, I think you would end up making more money in the long run, but are they willing to take like a little bit of a short-term hit possibly? Like it is a big risk to go this route. And I think that's obviously the fear inside the league office, because obviously this idea has been bounced around in there. But I think the fear would be maybe we'll never make that revenue back.
And I think it's circumstantial why now I think it's more plausible than ever, because the two things that are hit is RSN money and like local gate revenue. If you reduce games, and those are two areas that are declining rapidly across the board anyways. And if the majority of the money is national TV money, you might not need to reduce the national games actually at all. If you just reduce the schedule to where it's only basically national games or close to only national games, you're probably going to get close there. Now, the problem is a team like the Lakers that's making a crazy amount from the RSNs, or the Knicks, those teams that probably have outsized influence and vote shares in terms of how the league goes about it, they probably will be the biggest issue here. But I think that at least it's actually more plausible now because of the RSN collapse. And I mean, gate revenue is important as in some markets, especially. But that's something that that's tough decisions require tough sacrifice.
Yeah. What would you reduce the games to if like you could put a number on it, right? So we're at 82
Between
now.
60 and 65.
Okay. I mean, that's not, it's a big hit,
But it's not like dramatic.
no, you're not reducing it by half. But
Correct.
It's also a tough look, I think, from an optics standpoint. As I mean, MLB's not reducing the number of games, which like doesn't really matter that much. But the NFL is expanding. They're at 17, and they're probably going to 18 during the next collective bargaining. So if you're looking at it from that standpoint, it can be like the NBA's cowering to the NFL again, which they already do a ton anyway. They won't play a lot of Sunday nights. They'll avoid some Monday night games. Like they'll avoid Thursday night. Like they kind of avoid the NFL until the NFL season's over, and then they really go all out. So from an optics standpoint, it could just look like they're folding to the NFL again, which is not the best look in the world currently.
I mean, I'm looking at it from the other standpoint. Like, who's the league that the NBA likens to compare themselves to the most? It's not the NFL.
No,
it's the Premier League.
Soccer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
those teams are always looking to add more dates, and they play like 100 dates a year between competitions. And there's a lot of games you get in the Premier League calendar where the main players aren't playing. And on the one hand, like people just love soccer way more than they love the NBA, and like it's culture. It's you can't change that. But on the other hand, the one thing that's unique there, which is different from the direction sports are going in the US, is a lot of teams there have more personality. They stand for something. Like Newcastle plays a dirty brand, like they play a certain style, you know what I'm saying? Like, and a lot of that is because there isn't this like overly restrictive CBA, which requires teams to, essentially perform multivariable calculus, to pick their spots, to, you have to go all in right now. You got 2-year window, that sort of thing. Allows them more freedom. So my whole thing is, if you want to be like soccer, you have to kind of open up the CBA and allow teams to be more creative, and let the Lakers be the team who never develops anyone and only signs old stars, but let a team like Memphis, who's good at drafting and developing, have a better shot at using that to their advantage, for example, instead of trying to recreate the NFL. And then on the flip side, I would say, if you want to go down that route and do that, you have to commit essentially to one route or the other. That's my whole thing. I think I agree with both of you, which is the style of play argument. Like, yes, I don't like watching 63s being chucked up all the time, but like I feel like that's a very easy problem to fix. It's kind of like a window dressing problem. Yep. Whereas like the bigger issue with the NBA is cultural. Like, figure out who you want to be. The NBA kind of stood for something. Then, kind of like analytics and quants took it over, and everyone's resting everyone and trying to find mathematical edges, and that's fine. But it's like, figure out who you want to be as a league and commit to it in some direction. Sometimes it feels like leadership from up top does not give a flying fuck. They just see checks coming in.
And by the way, I wanted to jump in on that and saying, when you talk about, the commissioner, I make this comp a lot, and you Bay Area freaks will like this comp, but I look at it as Steve Jobs to Tim Cook, where Steve Jobs was the innovator that took a company that was kind of on its way out and really transformed it and figured out like the magic, and it basically saved it from a possible death to just a height. And then when Steve Jobs handed it off to Tim Cook has actually done a brilliant job on the business side in terms of managing the growth and keeping the growth going. But at some point you reach that ceiling where you're like, okay, we need an innovator back. We need somebody who bleeds and breeds the product back. And so I think that if you actually look at what Adam Silver's job is, in many ways, despite the fan frustrations, he's done admirable. This last TV deal is goddamn miraculous, given what the ratings are and what he actually got out of it. Like, even people who were optimists and understood the value that NBA still carried for for cable companies, he still exceeded that. So he's done a brilliant job in some areas. But now we're reached a point where we're worried about the next 10 years, because our current 10 years is secured. What's going to happen then? And I think this is where, if the NBA was ever going to make a change, this is where it would happen, and you would bring somebody in who is more just lives and breathes the basketball product side and innovates on that front.
And I think that's actually the biggest criticism of Silver, is that he actually probably doesn't love the sport. And you can kind of see that in the way he talks about it, the way he approaches it, where they, like you said, they need somebody who lives and breathes and loves the product, and somebody who's just kind of move fast and break things, and not necessarily like worry about the repercussions. Like, how can we grow as quickly as possible? And a lot of that, look, it's awesome that Steph and LeBron and KD are probably still the three biggest stars in the league, but it's also a very bad thing, because nobody really cares about anybody.
No, that's exactly what I was thinking about when I saw them.
Who cares about Ant or Luka? Like, I love those guys, but like, how many common people know who Anthony Edwards is? Not enough. And he should be an absolute superstar.
Wemby today was amazing, and that was like the first. I was like, oh, this needs to be a thing, and I'm just curious if it actually becomes a thing, because I think outside of NBA nerds, nobody saw it, no. and that's okay. It's like his first national game, but like in a previous era, this Wemby game would have gotten a lot more attention than it's going to end up getting. So
it was the 9:30 a.m. West Coast game. That shows you how much they actually cared about it, and like, you don't know what he's gonna do coming into the game, but like, and they put him against New York, so a lot of East Coasters saw it. But at the end of the day, it's only gonna get so many eyes. Like, I only saw the last 3/4 of it, So I don't know. It's I think it's a tough problem with no exact solutions, but people are just kind of like, they're playing whack-a-mole with it. Honestly, they're trying to find a way to fix it, and there's no perfect way to fix it currently.
Yeah. Dom, before we get out of here, I'm bringing this back to the Warriors.
Let's do it.
Tell me what you do if you were Joe Lacob. I'm not going to call you Mike Dunleavy because he doesn't have any power. So you're Joe Lacob. You own the team. What is your move? Be as nonsensical as you want.
I would take this Jimmy Butler opportunity, and I would say, I'm actually going to make this transaction, and it is going to be a rental. We are going to make this transaction. We are not going to expect that this is going to be our 3-year project or whatever. We're going to milk the shit out of this season of Jimmy Butler, and whatever happens after that. I'm not going to worry so much about the next transaction, the next deal. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And I ride into it. And I said, I got dogs on my side. I got Draymond. I got Jimmy Butler. I got, these guys are assholes. They're built for the playoffs. Let's just do it. Let's be reckless. And if it doesn't work, we tried. And sorry, Steph, we're going to go out. You're going to go out like Dirk, but this was our last shot. This was our last bullet. We trust you to be a professional. We trust you're not going to go anywhere. You're still going to retire, Warrior. We're going to try to build this the right way, but we're not going to overthink this right now.
I mean, I think that's really interesting, obviously, but I think another way to look at it is like, yeah, you view it as a rental, but also what it does is it opens up cap space for you this summer.
Yes.
It gets Wiggins off your books. It gets potentially some other, like, you can get a Slow-Mo who's a multi-year deal. You can get a Buddy who's a like, you can get guys like that off the books. So you're actually like, I think De'Aaron Fox is a free agent this summer. Pretty sure. And like, is it next year? Is it next year?
Yeah, the whole Fox thing is
I thought it was
the whole Fox thing is posturing that he'll be not lamed. He'll essentially be in Jimmy's position next year.
Right. But point being, like, you are opening up cap space, so it actually does give you the optionality that they've been preaching for the last 12 months. So I mean, I don't think Jimmy's it's not my favorite move, just because I just worry you're giving up probably around 35 to 40 points a game just because of what's going to be outgoing. It's going to be really tough to rebuild that internally. And maybe you can, especially with Schroeder here now.
Yeah.
I don't think it's enough at the end of the day, but look, if you're saying it's either Jimmy or nothing, I'm taking Jimmy every single time. I've loved Jimmy forever. He might just be too old now, but let's go down swinging with three guys who we know are just going to compete their asses off in the playoffs.
I mean, it's boring for me to say I would do it, but yeah, I mean, it's like, how many more fucking games of this do I need to see? How many, we don't need to add another seventh man to this team. I don't need another Dennis Schroeder where I'm like, ooh, smart move in the margins. Like, whatever. Steve's probably not going to play him. Even if he plays him out there, it doesn't stop all the structural issues. Like, to your point, be fucking reckless. Take a risk.
Yep.
How many more games of this do I need to see? So,
I mean, honestly,
leave it there.
If I was Joe Lacob, I'd sell the team. If I wanted, I'm kidding. But no, I do think it's
number one Steph hater, Tommy Gunn showing his head.
Yeah,
you would never sell the team.
No, that's the thing.
There's nothing more fun. Like, what are you gonna buy that's more fun than owning it?
Nothing. No, but
by the way, that's the reason Jeannie Buss will never sell, right? It's like, for what? Like, what am I gonna do? I'm the queen of LA.
Yeah, exactly. And like, as much
as I'm rich either way. So, but this way I get to like live the life I want to live.
Yep.
So. As much as I'd love to get Cam Johnson, it's like probably not enough at the end of the day. So screw it.
Would you do Zion?
Oh yeah. Oh, 1,000,000%.
You're all in. You're not worried. You're not worried about the.
Hey, get him with Rick. Get him in the sauna with Draymond on the Peloton. Ride in there for an hour a day, like Draymond used to do when he would
go to church with Steph.
Go to church with
Jesus together.
Yeah, we can fix it all. Look, Zion, like, I've always thought Zion would be amazing with Steph just because of like the way that their games would like kind of pull on opposite ends. You know what I mean? Like, how the hell do you stop a Zion Steph Curry pick and roll? You don't. Even with Draymond on the floor, I wouldn't worry about it that much with the lack of shooting. If you put enough shooting around those guys, I think they figure it out. Defensively, it could be an absolute disaster, but at least I'm not worried about like scoring the ball anymore.
There's no way that Draymond doesn't break Zion down to the point where he's like out of the league. So I think that's a terrible idea.
Which one of them's out of the league?
True. Good point. It might be like a mutually assured destruction.
What do you think, Sam? Would you do it?
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm in reckless mode. There's nothing. There's like literally nothing on this roster I want to salvage. Like, the only thing that's going to make me squeamish is like 2030 picks, because that's like so far out there where I'm like, it's a big debt to pay, But it's like Kuminga, you can take him. Pods, you can take him. Moody, you can take him. Like, there's nothing I care about salvaging on this roster. Just do something to mix it up. So,
yep.
All right, appreciate both you guys.
Thanks, man. Merry Christmas, everybody.